move on to help questions list and really just lay out what the admin portal is going to look like. Because then I think the user portal will make a lot more sense to people.
Yeah, cool. So what do we need here?
So the first thing we're going to need is the user needs to see a list of all of their questions. So that can be a group because there's a few actions in it. Yep, so questions list. And the first action is user can see a list of all the questions that have been asked in the help chat. But in brackets, similar questions will be grouped together. So on the back end of this, I want to use a vector database so that when someone asks a question that has very similar meaning, like how do you create a user and how do you create a user, how do you add a user, those get grouped together instead of being the same question gets regenerated over and over again when it has the exact same meaning.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Was there anything else on this list?
They're going to need to be able to see, to navigate to see the details of a question from within the questions list.
Yep.
Okay, and then you'll have a questions details group. We're done here. That's the only two actions we need for the questions list.
Okay. So question details.
And then the first action is they're going to need to be able to see the master text, which will be English in this case, because we'll produce the documents in English and then it'll be translated into other languages. So that'll be like the core of the document, the original document. And most of our customers are English speaking first. So I think that makes sense for it to be the primary language. And then the other action that we need is the user can see all the different variations that have been asked. So again, this is linking back to that semantics vector database functionality, where we can see all the different variants of how this question can be worded and how it's been grouped together.
Yeah.
Then the user is going to need a way to see and edit the saved answer for the question in each language.
For each language, did you say?
Yeah, for each language. So they can edit the English, they can edit the Hungarian, they can edit the Spanish.
So they're also going to need to be able to navigate between those two languages, right?
Yes, yeah. And they'll need to be able to see all the available languages that they can select as well.
So I've got user can navigate between languages to see the saved answer for each.
Yeah, perfect. Then the last action I think we need on this group is I really want to bring some basic analytics in so people can get an idea of what question's being asked the most. So I think the user can see a counter of how many times a question has been asked.
Okay. Cool. Is there anything else in this group?
Yeah, I think this might, I'll ask you now if this needs to be in a separate group, but underneath the question details, I want to also include a list of all of the linked documents. So that's like all the documents that are relevant to this question that was asked, which will also be the documents that are shown to the user when the question is asked. Do you think that should be in the question details or in a separate group?
We can put it in the questions details. That's fine.
Okay. So the user can see a list of documents the question is related to is the first action.
Yep.
And the other two actions are really simple. It's just they can link a document, so they can add a new document to this list, or they can remove a document from the list.
User can link a new document to the question, and user can remove a linked document.
Perfect. Yeah, that's 100%. I think that's all of the actions that we need for the help questions list. So do you want to do the functions now?
Yeah, definitely. Let's start with the question details. So user can see the master question text in English. So we just need master question text.
Yeah.
Cool. User can see all the variations of the question that has been asked. So just question variation text.
Yep.
And then we've got user can see and edit the saved answer for each language.
Yep. So they're just going to need some way to select.
Yeah, so I'm just going to do answer text input. And then the actual navigation between languages is happening in this action. So they can navigate between. Yeah. So again, I don't know how specifically you would lay this out. but I'm just going to do language selection button like we did with the documents. I imagine it'll probably be the same interface kind of a thing. And then user can see a counter for how many times a question has been asked. We just do counter of occurrences.
Perfect.
Spell it correctly helps. And then user can see a list of documents that the question is related to. So we're just going to want document name. And then we have user can link a new document to the question. I imagine this is probably most likely going to come from a dropdown for the sake of saving space.
Yeah.
So let's pop this in here now. So we need a dropdown toggle so we can activate that dropdown. And then we need the dropdown content so we can open and close it. And then we're going to need a link to select document.
Is there some way to make this dropdown searchable?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We can filter list by text input.
Perfect.
Filter list by text input. And then we'll also, I think we'll leave it like that for now. The UX designer can finesse this and work out what else we need. But I will add in a add new document button as well.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
That becomes before or after the drop down, I'm not sure, but we can clear that up later.
Well, it'd be really helpful for, say, they want to add like a new document that specifically addresses that question. They could do that.
Yeah. Oh, you mean as in creating a new document?
Yeah, like creating a new document.
Oh, okay, I meant as in linking a new document.
Oh, okay. You know, well, that's an interesting idea. Maybe we should have her create a new document button as well, because you might want to create a tutorial right then and there that's linked.
Yeah. Okay.
For part of that question.
So let's call this create a new document button, right? And then we'll take from what suggestion here, which is new document link button.
Yeah, that's really
That'll
good.
link the new one, and then this is, and I'm just going to put in parentheses so it's super duper clear. Creating a new blank document.
Awesome.
In documentation. What do we call it? Documentation management is what it's called, isn't it? Something like that. Close enough. Cool. All right. That's a good idea. All right. And then we just want to be able to remove a document, which is super easy. I think you just remove.
Yeah, the AI nailed it. We need to remove button.
That one's easy. And then under the list, we've got user can see a list of all questions that have been asked in the help chat. So we talked about we wanted to use the master question list, question text, as like the list list item.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to also show the counter of occurrences. So how many times this question has been asked within the list. We also talked about we wanted to sort this list by default how many times a question has been asked, didn't we?
Yeah. So you follow the 80-20 principle of like, well, whichever question has been asked the most is the one that we should prioritize first.
Yeah, so I'm just going to do sort list by most asked question to least. And then there was something else, wasn't there? Did we want to show, because we haven't gotten to it yet, but in the help chat, we're going to let people rank, basically rate thumbs up or thumbs down, helpful or not helpful, whether that response helped them. Do we want to show that in the list of questions?
Yeah, I think that's really, really important.
Okay, so let's say helpful counter and then not helpful counter. And I think that's actually probably something we need to put in the details as well.
Yeah, it's something we missed, which you're right, we should definitely add in, because they need to see how many times the question's been asked, but they're also going to need the again, they're gonna need some level of detail of what is, some way to point out whether the question is helpful or unhelpful. I can hear
Can
Marvy
you
in the
pause for a
background.
second? Can you pause for a second? Harvey,
Yeah.
get down. Down. Oh, wait. My coworker is being quite disruptive.
The head of HR, who's just not happy with the video.
Excuse me, sir. Is there cats that you would like to get instead? Be quiet, okay? You steady? Okay. You be there. Quiet.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, so saying we need a way to basically, it's really useful for them to see how many times the question's asked, but they also need to know whether a really good signal for whether the answer is any good or not.
User can see helpful and not helpful ratings.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it.
Shall we do each answer because we've got multiple answers across different languages?
Yeah, I think so. I want to see how helpful it is in Spanish versus how helpful it is in English. I think that's a really good distinction. Because that could also tell us if our translations are not wrong. Because we have a few clients that probably just use AI translations, and it may or may not line up with what a native speaker would expect.
Exactly. For the sake of keeping this all nice and tidy and clean, I'm actually going to pull those linked documents out into their own action group because they are kind of a separate functionality, kind of a separate idea kind of a thing.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Just to keep everything really precise and tidy. Cool. All right. And then last thing here is the navigation link. So I'm just going to put link. Is there anything else in this feature you can think of?
No, I think that's pretty much good. Shall we head on to view documents?